being here again, Chris.
I was glad to do it.
Come on in, guys. We'll get started here in just a couple seconds. Come on in. Good to see everybody. There's some smiling faces. We got a little bit of sunshine coming in here and in the windows, so that's always good. We got Chris today. He's going to fill us in. We'll go ahead and get started. It's right at 11. We'll let people in as they come. My name's John Lee with the St. Louis Real Estate Investors Association. We're here with Chris Bosler of Davis Travaglini LLC. He's going to fill us in on the latest going on in St. Louis County and the city. And what are you in store for today, Chris?
Well, I suppose we'll start with the county where most of the news is happening at the moment. We're kind of, as if you've been following along, on these updates, we're on, a bit of a roller coaster. So the county on April 5th finally started processing evictions, sheriff's evictions, and lifted their own moratorium. And I know Christine's had, number of hers processed and moving forward. I guess the first thing that we've started to experience is pushback on that, as I'm sure you're all aware and Kathy's made you aware. The CDC order still is in play. The CDC order goes till June 30th, allows a tenant to, submit a piece of paper. It's supposed to be telling the truth that they are behind on rent because they've lost income or have a number of high medical bills. They're going to be homeless if they get evicted or have to be forced to move in with a relative or something, some other crowded living situation that they've tried and failed, or gotten all the aid they could possibly get from the federal government or local agencies, and that they're making all the partial payments that they can. We had not seen a lot of these yet because with the county and city blanket moratoriums in place, tenants didn't have to do that. Since the county opened up theirs and started processing evictions, what we've come to understand is either the county itself or some agency that is working with the county, because they have to know the list of who's getting evicted, has been sending out blank CDC declarations with instructions on how to take advantage of that. So, tenant's going to get a notice on their door saying, hey, the sheriff's coming out next week, but if you would like to avoid being evicted, sign this piece of paper. So, as you can guess, Christina spent the last week drafting motions to challenge these CDC declarations. There's a couple ways we're challenging them. The first is we are trying to get a judge to determine that we're not the only attorneys trying this, to get the judge to determine that all of the CDC orders should be declared invalid because the CDC order itself is unconstitutional. There has been as I'm sure Kathy might have told you, a few federal courts out there that have across the country that have determined that, but unfortunately no judge has gone as far as to do a blanket injunction on the order nationwide. We had one in Texas and one in Ohio that said it's unconstitutional, but limited it to that particular case. There was one in Tennessee that's promising. They gave a more blanket statement, and the federal government, the CDC, that tried to appealed it and tried to get their order stayed, and the federal appellate court said they were not going to stay the Tennessee judgment because they didn't think the CDC was going to win their appeal. They have the ability to do that. So all of that's going in the right direction, where eventually I think the CDC order is going to get thrown out. So there was an attorney who out in St. Charles got a St. Charles County judge to agree it's unconstitutional and not to apply it out there, at least in his court. We are trying to use that, and along with the federal court rulings, to see if we can get a judge in St. Louis County to agree with us. I'm going to be filing a similar motion in a Jefferson County case to see if they will embrace that as well. We have not seen it in the city just yet to the point that I've got an opportunity to do that, but we will be trying that as well there. You can also challenge these orders by actually proving the tenants are lying, either that they haven't been paying, that if you know they're working and they haven't been paying you partial payments, it's a good chance you can get a judge to agree that they need to either pay you partial payments or their order is not valid. Or if you know you have a tenant that you've been trying to get them to apply for the SAFER or or fill out ERAP forms for you, and they're refusing to do so, that's another good way to get around the order. We've had a number of these orders overturned because the tenant is they're not telling the truth. They haven't done what they were supposed to do. So there is some movement there, but it's a lot of work to get there. I mean, we're going to have to fight tooth and nail to get these folks either to pay you or to vacate the property. The more concerning development in the past week, as I'm sure number of you have heard, and I know we sent that to John, is that the St. Louis County, after pressure from Sam Page and Corey Bush, has the county, one of the county councilmen has filed a bill to basically have a St. Louis County-wide moratorium on evictions to match the CDC order till June 30th. That is coming for a vote. I don't know exactly when. I think sometime next week. All they need is 2/3. And as I was explaining to John before the call, I highly doubt that 2/3, they will not get 2/3, because it's just it's an easy political win for them to just say they don't want evictions, because who likes evictions? No one likes evictions. I mean, but it doesn't have anything to do with COVID at this point. It's just people are using evictions are not great, and it's an easy thing to do to say they don't want to do it. So I would expect that we're going to get that's going to go against us there. There is a chance we could sue St. Louis County, but nothing moves that quickly. So it's odds are they're expecting to be sued and know that they can drag it out for a few months at least before they have to, it gets overturned. So it's possible that, the courts, the St. Louis County will adopt the CDC requirements, and we don't know for sure how that's going to be implemented if they do. Hopefully it's the same kind of thing that tenants have to be doing, taking certain steps. They pretty much copy the CDC order. So the practical effect would be, if the CDC order gets determined unconstitutional, the county ordinance would still be in place if this passes. So we'll still be dealing with it one way or the other until at least June 30th, if that goes that way. I would expect to see something from the city following the St. Louis County if they go that route. I know I'm sure most of you are aware, we have a new mayor coming in place, and I'm sure she's not going to want, eviction starting up, immediately upon her watch taking over. Currently, the city still has its own court moratorium in place through May 3rd on rent cases. So we have been anticipating that they would be lifting it at that point, but it's hard to say what's going to happen until we see it happening. We've been, we've gotten our hopes up before and had it yanked away from us. So we'll have to see how the judge wants to go, and even if the judge lifts it, whether or not the city alderman would create their own city ordinance matching the county ordinance, if that goes that route. We've got no indication that they will, but at this point, I've kind of been conditioned to expect the worst, or at least to be prepared for it. So that's where it's at on, but these, it's getting there. It's just going to be, we're going to have to, deal with this for a little while longer. All that being said, is none of these current ones outside of the current involve unlawful detainers. So if you've got tenants that are beyond their lease term or are causing problems otherwise, you can put them out, no problem. And realistically, I expect if you were to start a new case today anyway, by the time we got through the court process, you're probably looking at, any moratorium, unless it gets extended beyond June 30th, wouldn't have a huge impact on you. The bigger issue right now is for folks who have been waiting for a year to get their tenants out, who have been paying. It's just going to take a little bit longer to do so. The more challenges, more this, more that. So it's just, that's kind of the way it's going. And who knows, we could, get pleasantly surprised, but I'm not holding my breath just yet. So just keep an eye on the news. It's out there. It's this wave of evictions that these articles get written every time. And if you have an opportunity to bug your alderperson, reach out and speak out and explain, give them a landlord's perspective. By all means. We listened to an event given by this nationwide law firm that's doing a lot of these CDC lawsuits, and they were explaining that the fight they're fighting against is this long-held public perception that somehow what you all do as landlords is rather than a public service, is some sort of drain on the rental community or on the individuals who are renters. And so that's what you're fighting against, is a public perception that landlords are somehow taking advantage of poor people, and that they don't need to be protected. So the more you can talk to your alderperson, particularly maybe to stem the city trying to take advantage of the public perception, that then we could do that. At the county, the ship may have already sailed, but if you can reach out to your county councilman, explain to them why that's going to hurt you, how it's affected you, that you're paying your bills with this stuff, and the only way to enforce your contract is to have the threat of it being able to evict people. Maybe it moves the needle, maybe it doesn't. It's hard to say. But we can all certainly try. So we're working from our end. That's what I would suggest doing from your end. In the meantime, with people with tenants, keep, I know we've talked about the aid out there. Keep working with them to get aid. It's my understanding that the aid is, particularly surprisingly, the ERAP program is moving fairly quickly and getting aid out there. The SAFER program, as we've discussed with the city and county, is a little bit slower going, but we are hearing good things that it's actually moving. Keep in mind, anytime you're dealing with these programs, a lot of them come with strings attached. So before you sign anything as a landlord, make sure you're checking what rights you're waiving. I had one client who didn't know by signing the ERAP that we had to dismiss our pending lawsuit once he applied for the ERAP money, which he hasn't gotten yet. So it's just one of those, hopefully it works out and he gets the money, but it's one of those ones where we need to just read carefully what you're signing, because a lot of them is saying, you're going to have to declare whatever money you get is current. It means you're wiping out whatever the rest of the tenant owes, or you may have to dismiss your lawsuit. So some of you may get out of the blue emails from agencies and your tenants saying, hey, I need you to sign this, and just be careful what you're signing. It may work out great for you. Just, you want to know what you're signing before you do it. You don't want to, have an agency, someone owe you $6,000 and an agency paying you $1,200, and you've signed something agreeing that if you get that check, you're waiving the other, $3,800 or whatever it is. So it's something to keep an eye out for whenever you're signing. That's what that's what you want to do. But overall, keep working with them. There is money coming. And if someone's just going dark on you, I still say it makes sense to sign, to get a suit on file one way or the other, either through an unlawful detainer or a rent possession, because it can force them to reach out to agencies. I mean, we've had some success with that. Or if they're going to stick their head in the sand, at least you're starting the process, getting it down the line. So that's kind of what we've been telling everyone from the start. If someone's making partial payments and work with you, maybe keep working with them a little while longer to not force their hand and try to take advantage of the CDC or anything like that. But if they're going dark on you, it's better than having them sit there. Maybe, you can kind of nudge them a little bit in the right direction. If you have properties in St. Charles and Jefferson County, pretty much it's, do whatever you're going to. CDC order still isn't in place, at least in Jefferson County. I haven't challenged it in St. Charles since that one judge took it up, but we are getting a lot more movement out there, and you're going to see a lot of judges being a lot less sympathetic out there because they've got more political cover. So you guys can go nuts out in those counties. It's just, of course, the city and in the St. Louis County that we're still fighting the forces of. I'm not gonna put it. It's a tough decision that people have to make, but it's just everyone's got their side, and we all we have to look out for what we think is right. So that's all I have. Is a lot of unknown, unfortunately, right now. We're kind of just every week, every day is a new thing, but I do think we're moving in the right direction to where we may get some sort of normalcy here in the next few months. Fingers crossed. Hopefully everyone gets their vaccines, and and then the case numbers will keep going the right way. So does anybody have any questions about anything I talked about or anything I didn't talk about?
I have a question for you, Chris.
Yeah, Dwayne.
Type of mortgage folks have, does that play into this at all anymore?
No, some of you may recall that back when the CARES Act first hit back a year ago, these moratoriums federally were limited to those with federally backed mortgages. The CARES Act was, because it was done by Congress, is probably the only nationwide thing that actually had any legal legitimacy to it. Well, that expired in July. Everything else has been the CDC order, which does not discriminate based upon the type of mortgage or even if you have a mortgage. So the Congress in the last bill they signed declined to do their own moratorium, instead relying upon the CDC. So no, nothing. You don't get any break if you own the property outright. You don't get any, there's no difference on that, unfortunately.
Thanks.
I do know that with federally backed mortgages, a lot of the big complexes are getting pressure from the federal government if they're getting subsidies to not do anything. But I don't think that would apply to anybody in this group. Most likely, it's more the LIHTC properties, HUD properties, things like that are being told blanket, do not file rent cases until the CDC order is lifted. Anybody else? All right, making my job easy this week.
Yeah, we'll going easy on you here this week.
I kind of feel like we've probably crossed the same bridge a number of times.
Yeah,
everyone
like
here has mostly heard it all at this point.
Yeah, but I appreciate Kathy reaching out to us this week and giving us a heads up about that St. Louis County eviction stay.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to change the narrative to where at least the landlords get their perspective out there, but it's not, again, it's what's going to make the news, what's going to make these, the politicians look better. And, and obviously no one likes evictions. I mean, it's not a pleasant thing to talk about, to support, but,
No.
At this point, I don't think this COVID has much to do with it anymore, as much as no one's, now June, July, it's going to be the same thing,
Mm-hmm. No, at least, and we were able to get a email out yesterday to all of our membership, urging them to submit comments that'll be read in the 4:00 this afternoon.
I think the comments were frozen as of yesterday. They had to be submitted yesterday. So if everyone who's hearing about it now, don't worry about it now. But there is a public forum, I believe, online at 4:00. But all comments had to be submitted by yesterday, and they're just reading them. They're not taking, they're not letting people rant, unfortunately.
Well, hopefully we got enough comments in there, because we got an email out in the morning, and I know I wrote a nice long. They said that you were going to limit it to 400 words, and I said, I'm an engineer, I can get it done in 200 words, and I ended up spending almost 300. Once I got started.
I know I talked to Harry about it and kind of, gave him he was asking me what he should write, and I just was telling him, just tell your story, tell him how it affects you, that you're not a big company, that this is something that's going to affect your bottom line, and I know Harry was telling me that he's having he's got open units he's not renting out because he doesn't want to deal with someone moving in and not paying him because they think they can't.
They got a moratorium right now. So
I mean, and it was another thing that's coming out that I heard. An interesting thing is that what the long-term effects of this is going to be. A lot of folks are selling, landlords are, property investors are selling their investment properties. And because the market is so tight, they're getting bought up, not by new real estate investors, but by people who want to use it as their primary residence. So we're going to see, we already have a shortage of low income or affordable housing. And we're going to see it start drying up more if we push, real estate investors out of the arena, because of, that's going to be the long-term effect of all of this, is people can't hold out. And once the foreclosure moratorium ends, I'm worried for what it's going to mean for the industry for at least the next few years.
Yeah, I know at least one of our members already, because the market was so hot, sold one of his single-family rental houses, and so it's going to be out of the rental market.
And that's just what it's going to be, because I know the real estate prices are shooting up. My wife and I took advantage and refinanced our house to take advantage of the market right now. Sure. But it's not good if you're looking to rent and looking to get.
No.
Yeah, so that's the
I included
that's the nature of it.
I kind of made an overall representing the St. Louis Real Estate Investors Group. So a lot of our members are dependent on this just for their prime source of income, or their rentals, and we're we're really suffering, having not being able to take our properties back that aren't generating.
Well, essentially, I mean, in one of the big avenues for what they're challenging the CDC order is you're basically making these leases you've signed with your tenants worthless, because if you can't enforce if there's no enforcement mechanism, there's no point in having a contract, because folks aren't going to, some will pay in their rent, but a lot of them, it's just, if they have the opportunity not to, it's just, none of this, I don't think, is particularly legal. If it got in front of it, enough judges, I think at this point, everyone's just hoping that they can drag it out long enough that, the problem. I don't know, magic. So, well, I guess looks like my internet connection's unstable, so it may be a good time to, if anyone has